Hello, hope you're well and welcome back to Benjy's Cafe podcast with me, Ben Harlow. Joining me in Benjy's Cafe this week is the actor Bob Golding. In 2009, Bob starred as comedy legend Eric Morecambe in Tim Whitnell's one-man play Morecambe. Morecambe played to sell-out audiences and critical acclaim at the Edinburgh Festival before transferring to the Duchess Theatre in London, winning the 2010 Olivier Award for Best Entertainment.
And it went crazy. Like the second performance I did, I came backstage and he popped back behind the curtain and went, just to let you know, Bob, Lionel Blair, Barry Cryer and Ronnie Corbett are in the audience today. Good luck, mate. Have a great one. And my stomach just went... I thought, then it hit me. I'm playing someone that these people care about.
Bob is one of the country's leading voice actors and voiced Milo and Max for the CBBC BAFTA award-winning show Tweenies. He has starred in over 15 pantomimes and this summer will be appearing in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night at Stafford's Gatehouse Theatre and will return to Edinburgh in Paul Hendy's brilliant new play, The Last Laugh. Bob is Mr. Funny and Mr. Lovely, Mr. Fuvely. Grab a coffee and enjoy listening. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe, Bob Golding. Hello, Bob. Thanks for joining us in Benjy's Cafe.
Hello, Benjy. That has made me cry. That is so funny. Like, cry with laughter. Mr. Fuvely. I love that.
How's your morning been? Have you had a good start to the day?
Good. Done the 10K. Come on. Motivate yourself. Get out there. Cleanse the soul. Feeling good. Yes. All good. Thank you.
Brilliant. So you're trying to walk 10K a day, are you? That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we started out sort of a slow jaunt of 5K. And then we thought we've got to speed this up a bit. So we kind of walked with purpose. And then we thought, actually, that was easy. And then we started, this is this year, basically, starting at sort of end of January. And then we sped up, and it's a very, very fast walk or a very slow jog, if you like. And we do 10. It's been pretty horrible with the rain, but you still got all the birds' song, and it's a nice start to the day. We get out in the morning. We're normally there by about 9:20. And then we're done just after Popmaster, which is good.
Old Ken, a bit of Ken Bruce.
Love it. I love it.
Although my Ken is the same as my Terry Wogan, so they sound similar to me.
Well, it's Celtic and of that age, isn't it? I suppose. But can we hear it? Can we hear them? Or you're not ready?
Hello, and this is Uncle Terry, and welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast. And weirdly, if you really
the music
if you play
is
it backwards,
there.
If you play it backwards, that's also my Mick Jagger.
Yes, it says, kill your parents. Kill your parents. Guys, they're all wrong. They're trying to... Actually, it reminds me of a story. My mate was at a book... My mate Ian Kirkby, his friend was at a bookshop. But and he was looking at books and he came across a book about the Rolling Stone. And he heard this voice behind him. It's Mick Jagger. And Mick Jagger spotted that he was looking at the book and said, "Oh, don't buy that one. Get that one over there. That's much better. Because all the rest are lies." And then he just left the shop. And it's like, what the hell just happened? Oh, the rest are lies. They're all lies. So thank you to Ian Kirkby for that anecdote.
You've got an amazing voice for accents, for characters, Bob. Where did that come from? Like, your voice career is extraordinary, credit after credit, and good credits as well, Bob. Where did that start? Where did you discover this skill?
I've never been asked that. I suppose originally when I left, I knew I wanted to be an actor. So my voice, I knew, was going to be an important part of that. I was a bit of a mimic, but not really. I wasn't really anything at school. I was a bit invisible. And in those days, in the sort of early 80s, it was all, if you were into drama, you were sort of castigated by the cool kids a little bit. So I had my own little world. I became a bit of a nerd, really, I suppose. So I was a funny nerd, And then around 1998, I got divorced for the first time, and I was like a stand-in presenter, if you like, for a kids show on ITV called Fun Song Factory. Because Dave Benson Phillips, I don't know if you know Dave, he's a great guy. He was busy all around the country, and this is so fantastic. He couldn't make rehearsals, right? So he would just come to the shoot days. So I was employed to be Dave Benson Phillips on rehearsals and make notes and write everything down. And then when he arrived on the shoot day in the morning, I would get in a little bit early and sit down with him, go, right, this scene, this happens, this, you sing that song. And you go, and he was brilliant. You know, he just turned it on, the camera's on, and he's just an absolute natural. But in that, there were lots of little characters, like a mouse from Birmingham comes in and says this, can you be from Birmingham? And I thought, oh, blimey. So it sort of tested me a little bit. And that's where it really started, and that was around 98. And then I worked with the producers of Tweenies on a pantomime I did in Coventry at the Belgrade, Ian Lachlan and Will Brenton, who were coming up with this concept. They've been working on it for ages, years, in fact. A preschool live-action programme that we're pitching to the BBC. I think they were generally pitching it everywhere. And they said, would you like to do some voices? Myself and Justin Fletcher, who's now Mr. Tumble, we all know him as, MBE, BAFTA Award, multi-BAFTA Award winner. He was in the panto with me, and we shared digs. So we basically sat down with an old tape recorder, remember, play and record, press play and record, and a built-in microphone, and we did our own little interpretation of the characters that we thought that we'd be up for. We did about 6 or 7 voices each, and then gave Ian and Will a cassette, a C60, I think it was, that we gave them. They took it to the BBC, and then it all went very quiet. We finished pantomime, and we all went out for dinner one night after pantomime, and they announced everything. They did wound me up. It was a bit of a cruel thing. There was a few of us on it that were pitching voices. And they said, Colleen Daly, pleased to tell you, you are going to be in the Tweenies. We're going to make a series. And we were like, oh, that's fantastic. Great. Colleen, they went through all the people that were going to be in it. There's about 4 or 5 of them. And they came to me and went, great work in Panto, Bob. And I went, oh, right, okay. And I genuinely thought, that's it. I'm not going to be involved. And then they went, gotcha, you're playing Milo.
Oh, man.
So that kind of opened that door.
And with Milo and Max in the Tweenies, they're iconic, aren't they?
They turned out to be. It was crazy. We called it Tweenie Mania. It just went a bit crazy. But originally, I didn't know if I could do this for any length of time, because they're all preschool kids, but they weren't kids. They were sort of alien, humanist representatives of some kind of form that a child could relate to. I thought that Milo, so I made this soft thing because he was quite gruff and quite, like a boy, and almost, too masculine, and climbing and fighting and throwing and biting. And I thought, if I give him a little sort of almost feminine kind of voice, then perhaps that would work against it and, balance out. And they said, yeah, that kind of works. But he was more, I can't remember where he originally was. He was sort of softer, like that. But then eventually evolved. I pushed it further back in my throat and gave it lots of energy and laughter behind it. And then it became almost childlike. And around that time, I started to have children with my second wife. So I was mimicking what their kids were like, constant noise, quite a little bit shrill. Sorry, I'll come out of it now because it's doing my head in. I was in my late 20s. And I was being a very, very sociable guy, going out and drinking in pubs and stuff, and suddenly turning up at 8:30 on a set and going, "Hello, Flipperoonie!" It wasn't the easiest thing that I set myself up for. I should have just made him talk like this, really. Go, yeah, I'm Milo, I'm 4 years old. But or perhaps just a bit like that. But then they started adding other characters, so it wasn't just the 4 Tweenies. That I got the part of Max as well, who was one of their carers, the older boy, and we played around with it, but eventually evolved to. It was almost. I was slightly inspired by John Shuttleworth. He was sort of like that, my Austin ambassador. Why, Reg? Why, Reg? Why, Reg? Don't keep asking me why, Reg. It just happens to be that year. So he was there, and we loved that around that time. And Will Brenton, I remember saying to me, think more like Graham Fellows. And I thought, okay. And I sort of made him northern, and I pushed him, again, a little bit further back in my throat, and used my diaphragm a little bit more, and he became this sort of generic northern old man, but he had a vibrato voice when he sang. Oh, just stop picking your nose, Milo, that's not very nice. I said, oh, sorry, Max. And I sort of perfected this art of. I remember the brilliant Wally Waters, who's the sound designer on Tweenies. He used to make us look good, basically, by editing us and overlapping the characters so it didn't sound like one actor was doing all the parts. But by the end, we were also slick at changing characters that we could do it without even thinking. We couldn't overlap, obviously, but we could just go from, oh, what are you doing? Don't, Max, don't. What do you mean, don't? You know, you can do it quite quickly. It's just because it's a muscle. And you just keep using it. And that's what really encouraged me and gave me the confidence to go, I can do this. I can do any characters like this, and it opened the door for, you know, as you say, quite a lot of animations and big stuff that came over the next 10 years, and then it went very quiet, like it always does in the industry. But yeah, I was led into voice work. I didn't choose to do it, and I thought I'd be doing straight plays and you know, Alan Ayckbourn and all that kind of stuff, which was around when I was in my 20s in rep. I thought, this is me now. I'm, you know, on actor's minimum wage and can pay me rent and get through life. But life has different plans for you, doesn't it? Really.
Do you acknowledge that by being a fun guy, by being a likable guy within a company, that opportunity came to you then and propelled you to that career?
I've not really linked the two. I mean, all actors desperately want to be loved, don't they? And I think there is that urgency to impress the people that you're working for. But I always I still consider myself a complete dickhead. You know, but but I don't want to change that. I want to keep the dickheadedness because you know, there is never ever a time in life when silliness can't come into it. You know, even at the darkest times in your life, you can be silly and it can help. And I think that's always been my crutch, to pull on that. My mum's like that as well, bless her. And so I think that was, there are natural things that happen in your life that help you do the skills that you do. And obviously, I mean, a good moral for this industry is just be kind, you know, respect everyone. Say hello to the cleaner in the morning and to the artistic director. So we're all in the same gang, and no one's better than anyone else, are they, really? I think that's important on every single, just in life it's important, but certainly in this industry, and I think it does help with you getting work in the future as well, because if you're a good member of a team, which I love, I've always loved being in numbers of people. Which is ironic because I ended up doing a one-man show and it was all about me, but I didn't actually like that side of it. I liked crediting Tim Whitnell, the writer, or, you know, the sound designer, or they're what make you look good as an actor, aren't they? So I try to just use that in every day, you know, and be more respectful to everyone around us, because we've all got our own journey and struggles that we're doing, haven't we?
Yeah, completely. And I think it's so interesting, like a real trend throughout these episodes on Benjy's Cafe, Bob, is just be nice to everybody. And I think I've learned that the older I've got. I've always been nice and friendly, but it really, what cements itself is there's no point in being an idiot. We chat on the podcast about mental health, physical health, vocal health for a voice actor. You said, you know, you're recording the Tweenies in your 20s, and, you know, we're social, especially in show business, it's a social life.
Yeah.
How hard is it, like, just keeping that vocal health?
On my last performance of Morecambe that I did in 2010 in the West End, my final performance, Joan Morecambe, Eric's widow, who sadly we lost 10 days ago, about 97 years old. She's a wonderful woman, but she came to see the show for the first time that day, and I had, and I'm not joking, laryngitis, tonsillitis, and pharyngitis. Your pharynx. Oh, so I had 3 infections in my throat because I was doing 9 shows a week on my own, and I had to have this. I'd never had it before. This weird injection. To this day, I don't even know what it was, Ben. It was. It went to my backside, and I got through the show. Yes, which was a bit weird because, you know, Eric was all about hey, and all that. But my voice was so tired and infected that it came out as like it was like a weird noise that I made that wasn't at all like Eric. But I think people could tell. You can hear it in someone's voice if they're infected, can't you? And my voice was absolutely shot. Thankfully, I had about 7 or 8 days off before the tour began. But the two big things for your voice is always going to be water and rest. If you can treble up your amount of water that you drink a day when you're using your voice, and just get a good 8 hours sleep if you can, or at least stay in bed for that long, so and not talk, because nil by mouth, in that sense, is essential to keep it going. Really, most of the stuff I've been doing VO wise has been short little commercials, so your voice can no worries, you can do that until the cows come home. But when you like Panto, for example, it's an absolute roaster. It's because you're shouting for a living for a month.
It's a tough schedule, isn't it? And but it's interesting because one has pride in your performance and your skill and making people happy. You just can't, especially as a dame or a comic, or anybody actually, you can't go in and underplay it, can you? Because I don't know about you, Bob. I always feel like I'd hate to think I've shortchanged anybody because we're in such a privileged position, especially when it could be the first time somebody's seen a show with pantomime.
Absolutely. And how awful is it to come off a performance knowing that you couldn't give 100%? That's the worst thing. And I've always said, people say, "Oh, that was really good," when you're at your worst. "Oh, well done, that was fantastic." But actually, only you really know how good you were. And that will always be the case.
And your wonderful children, Bob, do you think they help you when the phone isn't calling? You're a busy bee, but of course it's natural. There are periods, aren't there, when it's just quiet and it is hard and it can drag you down. My God, is it lovely to have the joviality and the effervescence of your children there just to buoy you up a little bit? It must be lovely.
Yes, it is, to answer in I love those words as well. Joviality. I like that.
I think it's a word.
I'm having it.
I'll check with.
Keep it.
I'll page Carol Vorderman.
Just put it up in the screen here. Is it a word, tick or crossed? Because if it isn't, it bloody well should be. I'm going to juvenile the hell out of this now. But the kids. That's very lucky for anyone in the industry, in the creative industry, self-employed creative industry, is that you get to spend more precious times with your kids. I remember when, even when you're in the West End, you still got all your daytime, 7 days, all of day Sunday most of the time, and most of the daytime to spend with them, no matter what their ages are. My kids vary from 21 down to 5, so I've got a very different relationship with each of them now for different reasons. But essentially, they benefit, I think, from you being around, and you hugely benefit from being part of their lives a bit more. I remember being the only dad when my first daughter was born in 2003, I think it was. Yeah, it was Georgie. We went to like a antenatal class, my wife and I at the time, and all the dads there's about 14, 15 other dads. I was the only one that got to bath my kids and at the end of the day and do story time, because they were working. They wouldn't get back till like 7:30 or something like that. So they missed out on all that bit for the first 2 or 3 years of their child's life. So I'm very hugely grateful for that. But then there's the flip side of, you work away a lot, and in that, around that particular time, I was touring so much and I was away from the kids. Thankfully, that was the onset of like FaceTime calls and things like that, which really make a huge difference.
I'd love to take you back, Bob, to what you hinted on about being at school and making people chuckle. And it's a lovely feeling, isn't it? I remember that feeling, and it was like my safe place. I was a bit of an oddball, and I just remember the comfort of sitting with my grandpa watching the warmth of Morecambe and Wise, the two Ronnies, Dick Emery, Mikey Arwood, that beautiful, it's almost got this beautiful mahogany glow in my heart to that beautiful period of comedy. You have a wonderful affiliation, Bob, with Eric Morecambe. Was that how you started your connection with Eric Morecambe, or was it purely from getting an audition for the play Morecambe? I'm so intrigued because you had to become him every night. I'm fascinated.
Well, a huge fan. Obviously, you hit the nail on the head. It's about those kind of comedians and that era. It's a very different era to now with comedy. I'm not saying it's any worse or better, but it's very different. And it was certainly a more innocent time where you could, the whole it was very family-based entertainment where you could sit with grandma or the young kids and all laugh at the same thing on the screen, which yeah, who's not going to be a fan of that? I was a massive fan of Norman Wisdom as well for that same reason, because it was an escape.
Yeah,
George Formby, I loved all the George Formby films, even though if you met someone like that, you think, God, how irritating is this bloke? But essentially, the films were. I don't think he was like that in real life. They're lovely. I met Norman Wisdom actually on my 15th birthday. And he was.
Did you?
Yeah, he was so fit and healthy and just almost at the prime. But he was in his 80s then.
My God,
proper legend. I just went round the stage door at the Princess Theatre in Torquay and waited for him there, and it was my 15th birthday. And he came out and, and
that's
signed
amazing.
my programme and chatted with me for a while about the profession and all that. But yeah, that's a big inspiration. But I never auditioned to play Eric, actually. It was a weird thing. I won't go into it too much, but essentially, I knew a chap called Guy Masterson at the time. I'd done a play called Wasp, written by Steve Martin, the American comedian. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant was called, shortened to Wasp, with Adele Anderson from Fascinating Aida. She was in it. Guy was my dad.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic cast and a lovely little play directed by Gerard Murphy, who sadly is not with us anymore. But wow, what a man! He was. You might remember him in Waterworld with Kevin Costner, the long flowing red-haired Irishman. Yeah. I mean, he was, proper. This is inspirational people that you meet in your life, and Gerard was like that. But one of the other people that was inspirational at the time was Guy Masterson, and I remember talking to him that year. This was '97. I said, I'd love to do a one-man show one day, and he said, what would you do it about? I said, I don't know really. I'll have a little think. And he said, well, I think you look a bit like Eric Morecambe. And I thought, yeah, but at 27, I've always looked a little bit younger for my age. I think it's going the other way now, but at the time I looked really young, and I thought, yeah, I'm too young to do Eric Morecambe, so I sort of poo-pooed it for a bit. And my then wife said to me, but you should do something about Eric Morecambe. And I mentioned it to Tim Whitnell, who was doing that transfer from performer to writer. And I said, well, do you fancy a project then? Do you fancy writing a play about Eric Morecambe for me, a one-man play? And he didn't even hesitate. In fact, within an hour, he'd booked his ticket to go to Morecambe and was gone the next week. I didn't hear from him for 10 days. He just went up to Morecambe.
So he wrote it there?
Well, he went up there and was inspired by what he found and started reading books. There's some great books out there. There's so many books about Eric's life and Ernie's life. And he read them all. I mean, he's incredibly diligent and intelligent, Tim. He was one of the most inspirational people in my life, actually. And he came back 10 days later with about 3 pages of monologue. And I thought, oh, God, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. So then I went to back to Guy, and I said, well, we've got this. And he went, this is fantastic. I love this. Let's get together with Tim. So, and Tim was together with this lovely lady called Anna Murphy, who's a producer. And so she said, can I co-pro it with you, Guy? And Guy and her got together, and we sat around a table, and we did a read-through and went, I think we've got something here. Let's try and get some money for it. So we did a trial at the Riverside in Hammersmith, thanks to Bill. And by the end of that, it was only, I think it was a 25-minute excerpt from the play, ending with a letter from his mum saying, you're on your own now, from Sadie, saying, Eric, I've done as much as I can up to your early teens or late teens. Off you go with Ernie Wise. He's going to be your double act. It's a really moving part of the play. And that was it.
My goodness.
And by the end of that day, everyone that came along had invested in the show. So we had the money to do the play. So we thought there's no backing out now. So we rehearsed it. We rehearsed it quite a long time. It was three or 4 weeks of getting into. Because it's one thing doing a one-man show. Have you ever done one, Benjy?
I haven't. No.
I think it's every actor should do it once. I'm not sure if I'd do it again actually, because it's so. There's so much information to take on. You've suddenly got to be a familiar person that everyone in the audience knows. And that didn't really dawn on me until we got to Edinburgh, in a fantastic space called Rainey Hall. I don't know if it's used anymore.
Right.
The Scottish Assembly buildings on the top of the mound there, right by the castle. I mean, it's an amazing venue. And it looked like something from Harry Potter, you know. And we were there every day from 3:10. And it went crazy. It just, like the second performance I did there, Guy came backstage. Well, there wasn't really a backstage. I was behind a curtain that was about 2 foot from, you know, when you just stand there, no, don't move, trying to find your zone.
Yeah.
And he popped back behind the curtain and went, just to let you know, Bob, Lionel Blair, Barry Cryer and Ronnie Corbett are in the audience today. Good luck, mate. Have a great one. And my stomach just went, and I thought, then it hit me. I'm playing someone that these people care about. It's not. I'm not telling a story. They genuinely care about this person. So if I do them any level of injustice, it's going to be horrible. I'll never work again. You know, you build it up in your mind. It's a curse and a blessing, isn't it? But means we dot the I's and cross the T's, but we don't necessarily need to. You know, that's the point. But came up there, did the shows, and it just went ballistic, and we were sold out pretty much every day. 5 stars from the Times, 5 stars from the Guardian, and you know, all these big broadsheet reviews were coming in, and we thought, we've got a show. And then before we knew it, we were in the West End at the Duchess. And then I did the Royal Variety that year, which was bizarre. One of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had in my life. Completely surreal. Can you?
Who was on the bill? Who was with you?
Oh, mate, I tell you what. You're not. So, well, you are going to believe it because it's the Royal Variety. So it was the year Lady Gaga, Whoopi Goldberg, Bette Midler. Yeah, Mika, Michael Bublé, Catherine Jenkins, Peter Kay was hosting it, and I mean there were names that Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know if I said it before. It was just unbelievable. I stood in the line next to Mika and Alexander Burke, and the Queen came along with Prince Philip and shook my hand, and we had a little chat, and she moved on. You say the name Eric Morecambe, and your hand comes up to your heart. And you just think, oh my goodness, I absolutely love that man. Very few people didn't.
Comedy it can be a dark place, can't it? I just want to ask on a personal level, Bob, when you were playing Morecambe, was that quite a lonely existence? Even though, you know, you're floating along this beautiful souffle of excitement at Edinburgh, touring, the Royal Variety, the West End, was it quite hard knowing that every night you were just up there alone?
Yeah, it really is. You make friends. I always say this to someone else who's going on a one-person play journey, is that you find friends in your sound cues, in your props, in lighting states. It's that basic. You find the friends through it. In fact, on the last tour of Morecambe, I got all my mates to do the VOs that we had on it. So a wonderful actor, Glenn Davis, he was one of the announcers on it, and when I got to that part of the play, it would be, oh, hello, Glenn, hello, mate. You know, it was a nice
that.
little, just pulls you through to the next bit.
Just a little anchor for you, I guess. Yeah,
and then it'd be Jimmy Compton who did all the music on it, and he did a couple of announcements too, and then you think, this is it, I'm with my friends, even though it is, I mean, it's very lonely. You turn up at the theatre, you do your warm-up, you sound check, get in your costume, do the show, which is the best bit, and then they strike the set, and it goes to the next town, but you stay in that town that night, on your own. So there you are in a hotel room, another hotel room, living out, which the lament of many performers over the years, I'm sure lots of people can relate to it, and you're just there with your laptop and telly, and I wasn't drinking then. I don't drink when I do big things like that, you know, one man show. I won't be drinking in Edinburgh this year either, because it's a lot of responsibility, and I know you talk about it a lot on this show. You know, it does cloud you. It clouds you the next day. It doesn't matter if you have one glass of red wine after a show. The next day, I could feel it. So I just stopped it altogether and didn't do it. And that really did.
Good
help.
for you, Bob.
Yeah,
it's really hard, isn't it? Because you one comes off stage and you've got that buzz. you've worked hard, your whole day's built up to making people happy, you've achieved that goal, and you think, and it is the go-to, oh God, let's get to the bar, let's have a drink. But my goodness, I bet having not, you feel so much better and alert to smash it again the next day, don't you?
Yeah, it's just fact. There's not even opinion. I know actors that think it's opinion and say, "Oh God, no, it gives me the edge. I perform better when I've had a couple of drinks, or I need to do that." But it's a lie. You're lying to yourself. Factually, your reactions and everything are slower. And the day after, and if you're doing that every day, it's just completely topping it up. And I just wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I've done it plenty of times in my career when I've been in the West End on you're doing the same show every day, 8 shows a week. For your contract's a year, and then it gets extended to 18 months. That's tough because you kind of nailed the character. But you've got to perform as if it's the first time every time for the new audience. So, and also people coming back, so they will notice any changes and differences in your performance. So and then doing a one-man show is just. You can't. There's no room for error. I remember biting my lip on one show, and you're on your own. So, and that counts for all things. The little voice. Do you get that? Do you get the little voice in your head going, "See that woman? The 5th row back there. She's not even looking at you. She's on her phone." And you go, "Don't tell me that. I don't want to know it." But it's there again. Oh,
but how nice this summer, Bob. You're going to be reprising Eric Morecambe. With a fantastic cast in The Last Laugh. Is Paul producing it? You've worked a lot for him, haven't you? One of the leading pantomime producers as well. Is it lovely just having an affiliation with somebody who cares so much about theatre?
Absolutely. His passion is infectious. And when he phoned and to say about this project, in the back of my head I was thinking, I've done Eric Morecambe. I've done it. I've ticked the box. I'm really proud of it. Let's just leave it there. And within seconds of him saying, "What do you think?" I went, "Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that'd be great." Because he talks about things so passionately. He's definitely the best boss I've ever had. Him and Emily, who's an absolute tour de force herself. They're a great couple, and I think the best producers certainly that I've ever worked with. I think the likes of Paul and Emily have completely changed that and made it cool to do panto. It's brilliant to do panto. It's an honour to do panto. And that, on my personal level, is largely down to Paul and Emily. But his passion is so infectious and very much part of this project. It's why it's happening, really. Without him, it wouldn't happen at all.
And it's going to be a busy old summer, my goodness. So you got The Last Laugh up at Edinburgh. Before that, bit of The Bard. My goodness, you're a busy bee, Bob.
But this is a company I'd never worked for before, and they've got a phenomenal reputation in Stafford at the Gatehouse Theatre. For years they've done an outdoor one at the Castle.
That's right,
in Stafford, and got great reviews there and really well produced productions. But last year they brought it indoors to the Gatehouse for the first time. I think it was the first time. And it was met to great appraisal, and they loved it and said, "Well, let's do it again for this year." So I'm in the theatre, and the cast was just announced yesterday, actually, and it looks like a really good company. So, and Sean Walsh is playing Malvolio, the comedian Sean Walsh.
Oh, fantastic!
And it's brilliant. And so I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, and it's a comedy, So it's it's going to be one of those nice, bawdy, twin type mistaken identity adventures, which we all love and know so well. And so we're setting it in Cornwall in the 1960s. So I can't grow facial hair very well, but this is probably about 4 weeks growth.
Right.
And if the wind blows, I have to start again. Yeah.
That's like my old hair. I've got the new stuff now.
Well, I've got thank goodness for headphones, because they cover a multitude of sins. But I'm going thin, proudly going thin. But you look great, mate. I mean, you've completely changed your image, haven't you? Really?
Well, thank you. The hair has obviously helped, and my goodness, given me a massive confidence boost. It's not something that, as a chap, I'd share over the years, but I was losing my hair in my 20s, and it's just given me a real boost, which then triggered saying cheerio to the booze, and I just feel very
just over
healthy,
a year now,
Bob.
isn't it?
A year today, it's my year alcohol free. Woohoo!
Awesome. That's amazing. I mean, it's not I bet people think, oh, you're so smug, don't they? But it's not smug. It's a real achievement in this world, isn't it?
Well, it's very hard as a kind of a nation. We don't, as the Brits don't, kind of almost blow their own trumpet enough, especially for nice little things that one succeeds in life. But I'm just like, no, I feel proud because I made a decision and I've done something about it. And it's just, Bob, it's just lovely to feel healthier and kind of full of energy. It's great. I feel good. I feel good.
And you're so right. It's a very British trait to kind of underplay your strengths and to not celebrate your achievements. And that's something a couple of years ago, I think it was COVID actually that triggered it for me, because I suffered terribly during that year with anxiety. And your good lady Rita really helped me during that time as well, because it was something I'd never really had to deal with on that level before, on a daily level, hourly level. It was horrible. That kind of, you put yourself down, and when you're at your lowest, you think you deserve to be at your lowest, don't you? And that's something we should never do. And I think that's a very British trait, is to like don't celebrate stuff. Don't be that's smug. That's over. Although if you talk to most Arsenal fans, they think the opposite. Sorry, for my sins, I support Tottenham Hotspur, and I used to be
hey, not bad.
Season ticket holder, used to be, but it's not conducive with having 4 kids at all, so I'd sort of knock that on the head. I used to share a season ticket with the wonderful late great Roger Lloyd Pack, who was just
oh my word, really?
Yeah, talking earlier about inspirational figures in your life. I mean, Roger was just gorgeous. You want to kind of bottle that and keep that, and really sad that we lost him, but great that we had him at all. You know, he's a proper actor as well. Yeah, absolutely. And he did it all,
actor.
You know, and loved dancing. Came to my 40th and and I had a big 1940s style party, so we had the Glenn Miller band, and he didn't stop dancing all night. It was just amazing.
Oh, I love that.
My favourite day of the year was getting together with him at the beginning of the season and saying, right, divvy up the games, who's going to have what game, and we spent the whole day together. It was lovely. They were cherished time.
I genuinely want to say well done for what a fantastic year you've got ahead of you. You've got
cheers, mate.
A real beautiful challenge with Twelfth Night. You're kind of recreating a part in a new play in Edinburgh with a fantastic cast. And then you're back at St Albans for pantomime. They love you there. You should be the mayor of Hertfordshire. And I think you should be so proud of your career. I really do.
Well, I spoke with my parents recently, and it's funny because they're in their late 80s now. And Mum's struggling a bit with dementia, and Dad's got COPD. So it's, you know, you get to see your parents in a slightly different way now as they get older, which is really vulnerable. But you tend to have more of those conversations about, you know, why you love them and memories, of course. And Mum and Dad brought up, you know, several of those credits you just kindly mentioned, and said that they excuse me, they were very proud, and that makes a big difference to me, you know, and I hope to one day be as inspirational as those inspirational people I just said to someone else, you know, and if that does happen, then great. If it doesn't, someone else will do it better, but I'm proud of what I've achieved, and long may it continue. I mean, last year, though, work-wise, was probably the quietest year I've ever had in 36 years, and was a tough one, but it was a lovely one, because I got to spend way more time with my 5-year-old daughter Nella and my wife Nikki, and we live on this boat on the River Nen, and those moments, even though you're not rich in other departments, you're rich in the main ones. And it's about celebrating those, and we're both very lucky we've got people who love us in our life, and that makes a big difference. And I don't want to be too gushy about stuff, but because I'm British and we don't talk about that sort of stuff, do we, Benjy? But I think love and the sharing of that of love and being heartfelt with people is why we're here. We're here to help each other and make each other feel better about existing.
I just want to ask every guest, what's on your dinner menu tonight? Any plans?
Well, tonight we don't eat in the evening with this new regime because I've got to be Eric Morecambe again, so I've got to get skinny. But today I did a no carb stir fry, which consisted of cauliflower rice with a bit of chicken, some vegetables.
It's been so lovely to talk to you. I wish you so much love and luck for Twelfth Night, for The Last Laugh and St Albans Panto. And just have a lovely day and keep making people happy because you do.
Ah, bless you, Benjy. Could we have the bill now, please?
Thanks for joining me in Benjy's Cafe. Isn't Bob great? Make sure you hit follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone. No booking required, available wherever you get your podcasts. In episode 10, I'll be joined in Benjy's Cafe by the actor Craig Armstrong. What a lovely chap. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.